Hey folks, Rational Raphael here, talking to you about dividing polynomials using long division. Now here's a question. What do you get when you cross a turtle with a porcupine? A slow poke!
Yeah, the first thing we're going to talk about is long division. That's a method of dividing large numbers or polynomials. So normally you would see long division with something like this, where you're doing 65 divided by 5. And when you're doing that, your divisor is the number on the outside. That's the number that you're dividing into your dividend, which goes under your division sign. Now, all you have to do is figure out how many times is 5 going to 6. That would be 1 time, and 5 times 1 is 5, so that goes here. You subtract down, you get a 1, and then this 5 drops down. Then how many times is 5 going to 15? That's 3. So you put a 3 here, and then 5 times 3 is 15. Put that here, subtract down, you get 0. That's your remainder, with your answer being up here. Your answer is your quotient. The quotient is what you get when you divide two numbers. This is what we're going to be doing today. Just know that it works the exact same way. So here we have a binomial dividing into a polynomial. So your divisor goes out front, your dividend goes under the division sign, and the quotient is what ends up above. That's your answer. Okay? Your remainder will be the last number you get down here when you subtract, and there's nothing else to bring down. Now let's talk about dividing a polynomial by a monomial. So to divide a polynomial, your dividend, by the monomial, your divisor, the first thing you're going to do is put the monomial under each term of the polynomial. So here you can see, we're taking 4x squared and we're dividing it into this given polynomial. Same thing over here. These two things mean the exact same thing. So the first step is to take that monomial, the thing you're dividing into your polynomial, and put it under each term in the given polynomial, your dividend. So here it's going to be 8x cubed over 4x squared minus 10x squared over 4x squared minus x over 4x squared plus 3 over 4x squared. Step 2, simplify each fraction and you're done. So let's go ahead and simplify this first fraction. We have 8 over 4. 4 goes into 8 two times, so there's going to be a 2 in our numerator, and since there's 3 x's in the numerator and only 2 in the denominator, 2 of those are going to cancel out, leaving 1 left in the numerator. So it's going to look something like this. Here we have 10x squared in our numerator and 4x squared in our denominator. Well, the 10 over 4, we can divide each of those by 2 and it simplifies to 5 over 2. And the x squared and the x squared are just going to cancel each other out. So we're just left with negative 5 over 2. Here, we have an x in the numerator and a 4x squared in the denominator. So one of the x's in our numerator cancels out with one of these in the denominator, leaving just 4x in the denominator. And then here in our numerator, we have a 3, in our denominator, 4x squared. Nothing cancels out, so you just leave it like that. So when we write our answer, it looks something like this. 2x minus 5 halves minus 1 over 4x plus 3 over 4x squared. And you're done.
Where do they send turtles who commit crimes? The shell block! Example time.
Now example 1, we're doing the same thing. So here we're dividing a polynomial by a monomial. So we're going to take this monomial and put it under each term in this trinomial. So it looks something like this when you put that 3c squared under each term. Now all we have to do is simplify and we got our answer. So 9 over 3 simplifies to just 3. And since there's c times c times c times c in our numerator and c times c in the denominator, 2 of those c's cancel out, leaving 2 in our numerator. So it looks something like this, 3c squared over 1. Here, 6c to the third over 3c squared. Again, the 6 over 3. The 3 goes into the 6 two times, so it's just going to be a 2. And since there's 3 c's in our numerator and 2 c's in our denominator, 2 of those cancel out, leaving just 1 left in our numerator. Lastly, we have minus c squared over 3c squared. The c squareds are just going to cancel each other out and leave us with a 1 in our numerator and a 3 in our denominator. So if we rewrite this as our answer, we don't need the over 1 anymore. It's just going to be 3c squared plus 2c minus 1/3. For part B, we're doing the exact same thing. We're going to take this monomial and put it under each term in the polynomial, which in this case is our numerator. So if we take that 7r squared and put it under each term, it's going to look something like this. Now that we have that 7r squared under each term, all we have to do is simplify each of these fractions and you'll have your answer. So let's go ahead and do this. The 7's cancel out. There's 5 r's in the numerator, 2 r's in the denominator, so 2 of those cancel out, leaving just 3 r's in our numerator. Here the 14 over 7 simplifies to 2 over 1. There's 4 r's in the numerator, 2 r's in the denominator, so 2 of those cancel out, leaving 2 r's in the numerator. Then it's going to be minus, and then 28 divided by 7 is 4, so it's going to be 4 over 1. And there's 3 r's in the numerator, 2 r's in the denominator, so 2 of those cancel out, leaving just 1 r left in our numerator. And then lastly, 35 over 7 simplifies to just 5 over 1, and the r squareds cancel out. Now we simplify. You don't really need to write anything is over 1. You can just write r cubed plus 2r squared minus 4r plus 5.
Why do turtles never forget? Because they have turtle recall. You try.
Okay, doing the same thing here. So we're going to take this monomial, put it under each term in the polynomial. So it looks something like this. Now all we have to do is simplify each fraction and you'll have your answer. So 21 over 3 simplifies to 7 over 1. Here there are 5 p's in the numerator, 4 p's in the denominator. So 4 of those cancel out, leaving just 1 p left in our numerator. Here the 3's cancel out and the p to the 4's cancel out. So if everything cancels out, it's just going to be plus 1. Lastly, 11p cubed over 3p to the 4th. The 11 and the 3 don't simplify at all, but there's 3 p's in the numerator, 4 p's in the denominator. So 3 of these are going to cancel out, leaving just 1 p left in the denominator. Now we simplify. All we have to do is just make this 7p, and that's your answer. Here, same thing. So we're going to take this monomial, put it under each term in the polynomial. So it looks something like this. Now, 8 over 4 simplifies to 2 over 1. There are 4 y's in the numerator, 1 in the denominator, so 1 cancels out, leaving 3 y's in the numerator. Here, 16 over 4 simplifies to just 4 over 1. It's still going to be minus. And there's 3 y's in the numerator, 1 y in the denominator, so 1 of those cancel out, leaving us with a y squared in the numerator. The 15 over 4 can't simplify that, but the y's can cancel out, so you get minus 15 over 4. And then 32 over 4 simplifies to 8 over 1. And then since there's only 1 y in the denominator, we just leave it there, so it'd be 8 over y. Now we rewrite our answer with this completely simplified. It's just going to be 2y cubed minus 4y squared minus 15 over 4 plus 8 over y. Now let's talk about dividing polynomials using long division. So what we just did is we divided polynomials by monomials, which allowed us to put that monomial under each term and simplify. But here, we're dividing by a binomial. So when this happens, you'll use something like long division. Now here's the first step. When you are dividing a polynomial by another polynomial, write the divisor and dividend in standard form. If a term is missing, add the term with a coefficient of 0. So here, notice it goes 8x cubed minus 6x to the first plus 2. So we go from x cubed to x to the first. There is no x squared term. Because of that, we need to account for that x squared term. So we write 8x cubed plus 0x squared minus 6x plus 2. Now we have it in standard form. We have a 0 with our x squared term. Now we can divide. So first, we create our little division symbol. We put our divisor on the outside. We put our dividend underneath. Next, divide the first term of the dividend by the first term of the divisor to get the first term of your quotient. So first term of the dividend, we take that, divide it by the first term of your divisor. So 8x cubed divided by 2x. That's going to be 4x to the second. So we take that 4x to the second, and that's going to be the first term of your quotient, your answer. So we put that here. Now the reason we put that here is because we're dividing by a binomial, so we start 2 terms in. Now we distribute this 4x squared to each term in the divisor. So we multiply the 4x squared to the 2x, and we get 8x cubed. Then we take that 4x squared and multiply it to the 1. You get 4x squared. Now subtract down. What's 8x cubed minus 8x cubed? Those cancel each other out. What's 0x squared minus 4x squared? That's going to be negative 4x squared. And now we bring down the next term. And we repeat the process. We take this negative 4x squared divided by 2x. You get negative 2x. So we put negative 2x here. And we're going to take this negative 2x and distribute it to each term in the divisor. Negative 2x times 2x is negative 4x squared. That's why we did it. These are going to cancel out now. And then what's negative 2x times 1? That's going to be negative 2x. So now we subtract each of these. The negative 4x squared and the negative 4x squared cancel each other out. Negative 6x minus negative 2x, so that's going to be plus positive 2x, is going to be negative 4x. We then bring down our 2 and repeat the process. What's negative 4x divided by 2x? That's negative 2. So now we distribute that negative 2 to the 2x. Negative 2 times 2x is going to be negative 4x. That's why we did it. These are going to cancel out. And then negative 2 times 1 is going to be negative 2. So then we go ahead and subtract these two values. Negative 4x minus negative 4x, those are going to cancel each other out. And then 2 minus negative 2 is the same as 2 plus positive 2. So this is going to turn into 4. Now, if you recall, when you get a number like this and there's nothing else to bring down, this is your remainder. In long division, we take that number, whatever it is, put it over your divisor and tack it on the end of your quotient. So it looks like this, 4 4x squared minus 2x minus 2 plus 4 over 2x plus 1. Again, it's plus 4 because this is a positive 4. If this was negative 4, you would put minus 4 over 2x plus 1. So this is your answer. This is your quotient. This is what you get when you divide 8x cubed minus 6x plus 2 by 2x plus 1. Okay, example 2, doing the same thing. Divide this trinomial by this binomial. So first step, write the divisor and dividend in standard form, and if a term is missing, we got to add a coefficient of 0. Well, it looks like our trinomial and our binomial have all of their terms, right? We have n squared, we have n to the first, and we have our constant. We have n to the first, we have our constant. Yeah, so we're good to go, and we are in standard form. So we have our division symbol. We take our divisor, put it out front. We take our dividend, put it underneath. Next, we are going to divide the first term of the dividend by the first term of the divisor to get the first term of our quotient. So take the first term of our dividend, divide it by the first term of our divisor. We get n squared divided by n. It's just n. That's going to be the first term of our quotient, our answer. So where do I put n? Well, since this is a binomial, 2 terms, I put it under the second term of my dividend right here. Now I take that n, distribute it to each term of the divisor, and put that underneath. N times n is n squared. That's why we did it. When we subtract, these are going to cancel out. Then the n times negative 4 is going to be negative 4n. Now we go ahead and subtract these two things. So n squared minus n squared, those cancel each other out. Negative 5n minus negative 4n is the same as plus positive 4n. So we get negative 1n, or negative n. Now we're going to take this 4, drop it down, and we repeat the process. So we take negative n, divide it by n, and you get negative 1. So that's going to go here. Now we distribute that negative 1 to the n and the negative 4. So negative 1 times n is negative n. That's why we did it. These are going to cancel each other out. And then negative 1 times negative 4 is positive 4. So now we subtract these two. What's negative n minus negative n? Those cancel each other out. 4 minus 4, those also cancel each other out, and we're left with 0. Since there's nothing else to bring down, our remainder in this case is 0. And if you have a remainder of 0, that means you don't have a remainder. So n minus 1 is our answer, and you're done.
Did you hear about the 2 turtles that ran into each other? It was a turtle disaster. You try.
Okay, so again, we have a trinomial and we're dividing it by a binomial. So our first step is to write the divisor and dividend in standard form. If a term is missing, we're going to add the term with a coefficient of 0. So it looks like both of these are already in standard form, and neither of them are missing a term. We have b squared, we have b, and we have our coefficient. We have b to the first, and we have our coefficient. Sweet! So we have our division symbol. We take our divisor, put it out front. We take our dividend, put it underneath. We're then ready to go. So step 2, divide the first term of the dividend, 3b squared, by the first term of the divisor, b, to get our first term of our quotient. So what's 3b squared divided by b? That's going to be 3b. So we put that over our second term of our dividend because there's 2 terms in our divisor. And now we go ahead and we take that 3b, distribute it to each term of the divisor. So 3b times b is 3b squared. That's why we did it. And then 3b times negative 3 is negative 9b. We now subtract. So 3b squared minus 3b squared, those cancel out. Again, that's why we did that. And then negative 10b minus negative 9b. This is the same as plus positive 9b, so that becomes negative 1b. We then take the 3, drop it down, and we repeat the process. So what is negative b divided by b? That's negative 1. So we put that here. Take that negative 1, distribute it to the b and the negative 3. So what's negative 1 times b? That's negative b. Again, these two should be the same. We need these to cancel out. We then take negative 1, multiply it to the negative 3. We get positive 3. So now we subtract the negative b and negative b. When you subtract those, cancel each other out. And then 3 minus 3 also cancel each other out and give us 0. Since there's nothing else to bring down, this is our remainder, meaning we have a remainder of 0, meaning we don't have a remainder. So our answer is 3b minus 1, and you're done. Okay, example 3, doing the same thing. This time we have a binomial divided by a binomial. So what's our first step? It is to write the divisor and dividend in standard form. If there's a term missing, we got to add the term with a coefficient of 0. So in our numerator, our dividend, we have a t squared term and we have a constant. We don't have a t to the first term that we usually have in the middle right here. So what we're going to do is rewrite this as 5t squared plus 0t minus 499. Our t plus 10, that's already in standard form, so we're good to go. So we take our division symbol, we put our divisor in the front and our dividend underneath. We now can divide. So step 2, divide the first term of the dividend by the first term of the divisor. So first term of the dividend, 5t squared, divided by first term of the divisor, t, gives you 5t to the first. That's going to go over the second term of our dividend because our divisor has 2 terms, so we put that here. Now we take this and distribute it to the t and to the plus 10. So 5t 5t times t is 5t squared. Then we have 5t times 10, that's 50t. We now subtract 5t squared minus 5t squared, those cancel each other out. 0t minus 50t is going to be negative 50t. We then go ahead and drop down our negative 499, and we repeat the process. Negative 50t, we divide that by the first term of our divisor t, and we get negative 50. So that goes here. We then distribute the negative 50 to the t and the plus 10, so negative 50 times t is negative 50t. Negative 50 times 10 is negative 500. We then subtract negative 50t minus negative 50t, those cancel each other out. And then negative 499 minus negative 500 is the same as plus positive 500, so it's going to be 1. That means our remainder is 1 because there's nothing else to drop down. So what do we do with our remainder? Well, we take that remainder, put it over our divisor, t plus 10, and tack it on the end of our quotient. So our answer is going to be 5t minus 50 plus 1 over t plus 10. Again, it's plus 1 over t plus 10 because our 1 is positive.
What did the cow say to the turtle? Get a move on! You try.
Okay, so this works the exact same way. We have a trinomial divided by a binomial. So what we're going to do is we're going to write the divisor and dividend in standard form. If a term is missing, we add the term with coefficient of 0. So we have an m squared term, an m to the first term, and a constant. So it looks like we have all the terms, and they're in standard form already. Perfect. So we're good to go. Let's write our division symbol. We take our divisor, put it in the front. We take our dividend, put it underneath. Then we move on to step 2, which is to divide the first term of the dividend by the first term of the divisor. So what's 4m squared divided by 2m? That's going to be 2m to the first. And that's going to be the first term of our quotient, our answer. So we take that 2m that we just found, and we put that over our second term of the dividend because the divisor has 2 terms. We then take that 2m that we got by doing 4m squared divided by 2m, and we distribute it to the 2m and the minus 3. So what's 2m times 2m? That's 4m squared. That's the whole reason we did it. These two should match up so that when we subtract, they cancel out. Then we take that 2m, multiply it to the negative 3. What's negative 3 times 2m? That's negative 6m. We then subtract. So what is 4m squared minus 4m squared? Those cancel each other out. Negative 10m minus negative 6m. So minus negative 6m, same as plus positive 6m. So negative 4m. We then take that negative 1, drop it down, and repeat our process. What's negative 4m divided by 2m? Well, that's going to be negative 2. So we put that here. We then take that negative 2 and distribute it to each term of the divisor. Negative 2 times 2m is negative 4m. These two should match up. That's why we did it. Then negative 2 times negative 3 is positive 6. We then subtract negative 4m minus negative 4m. Those cancel each other out. And negative 1 minus 6 is going to be negative 7. We have nothing left to drop down. That means negative 7 is going to be our remainder. So we take that remainder, we put it over our divisor, 2m minus 3, and we tack it on the end of our quotient. So our answer is going to be 2m minus 2 minus 7 over 2m minus 3. And you're done. Okay, example 4, doing the same thing. First, we want to write the divisor and dividend in standard form. If a term is missing, we add the term with coefficient of 0. To write this in standard form, we go from greatest exponent to least exponent, so we got 6x to the 4th plus 4x cubed minus 21x squared plus 25x. But there is no constant term at the end, right? So we're going to put plus 0 at the end to account for that constant term that's missing. And then over here, we just flip these two so that that's in standard form also. All right, we're ready to go. So we put our division sign. We take that 2x plus 6, our divisor, put it out front, take our dividend, put it underneath, and we're ready to move on to step 2, which is to take the first term of our dividend, divide it by the first term of our divisor. So what's 6x to the 4th divided by 2x? That's going to be 3x to the 3rd. And since our divisor has 2 terms, we put that over our second term of our dividend right here. We then take that and we distribute it to the 2x and to the 6. So 3x cubed times 2x is going to be 6x to the 4th. That's why we did it. So these two are the same. Then we take the 3x cubed, multiply it to the 6, and you get 18x cubed. We then subtract 6x to the 4th minus 6x to the 4th. Those cancel each other out. And then 4x cubed minus 18x cubed is going to be negative 14x cubed. We then take that negative 21x squared, drop it down, and we repeat. Negative 14x cubed divided by 2x is going to be negative 7x squared. So we put that here. We then distribute the negative 7x squared to the 2x, and that becomes negative 14x cubed. That's why we did it. These are the same. And then negative 7x squared times the 6 becomes negative 42x squared. So now we subtract. These are going to cancel each other out. And then negative 21x squared minus negative 42x squared is positive 21x squared. We then drop down this 25x and repeat the process. So what is 21x squared divided by 2x? Well, one of the x's cancels out, but 21 divided by 2, that doesn't go in evenly. So you could use a fraction, or you could leave it as a decimal, whichever one you want. I'm going to leave it as a fraction, so it's going to be 21 over 2 times x. Now we go ahead and we take this and distribute it to each of the terms in the divisor. So 21 over 2x times 2x, the 2's cancel each other out, and then x times x is x squared, so we get 21x squared. Oh, look at that. That's why we did it. So when we subtract, these are going to cancel out. Then we multiply the 21 over 2x times the 6, and you end up getting positive 63x. Now what we do is we subtract. These cancel each other out, and then 25x minus 63x becomes negative 38x. We then drop down our 0 and repeat the process. What's negative 38x divided by 2x? Well, the x's cancel each other out, and negative 38 divided by 2 gives you negative 19, so that goes here. We then take that negative 19 and distribute it to each term in the divisor. So negative 19 times 2x is negative 38x. Sweet, that's why we did it. These are going to cancel each other out. And then negative 19 times 6 is going to be negative 114. We then subtract negative 38x minus negative 38x. Those cancel each other out. And 0 minus negative 114 is the same as 0 plus positive 114. So that would be positive 114. Since there's nothing else to bring down, this is our remainder. We're going to take that remainder and put it on top of our divisor and tack it on the end of our quotient. So our answer looks something like this.
What do you call a funny turtle? Hilarious! You try.
Okay, doing the same thing here. So first, we want to write the divisor and dividend in standard form. So let's do that. Here, we go from greatest degree to least degree. So 2q to the 4th minus 3q to the 3rd plus 6q minus 8. And then this one is already in standard form. Cool. But now we also need to figure out, is there a term missing? And if there is, we add that term with coefficient of 0. So we got q to the 4th, q to the 3rd, q to the 1st. Oh, we're missing a q to the 2nd. So this will be 2q to the 4th minus 3q to the 3rd plus 0q to the 2nd plus 6q to the 1st minus 8. Over here, we have q to the 2nd and minus 2. So that's missing a q to the 1st. So we have to add plus 0q to the 1st. So we also did it to our divisor this time. So we're going to take this divisor, put it out front of our division symbol, and put our dividend underneath. We then move on to our next step, which is to divide the first term of our dividend by the first term of our divisor. So what's 2q to the 4th divided by q to the 2nd? That's 2q to the 2nd. So we put that over, not this one this time, because our divisor has 3 terms. So we're going to put it over our third term. So we put 2q to the 2nd here, and now we're going to distribute that to each term of the divisor. So we take 2q to the 2nd, distribute it. What's 2q to the 2nd times q to the 2nd? That's 2q to the 4th. That's why we did it. These are going to cancel each other out. Keep going. 2q to the 2nd times 0q is going to be 0q to the 3rd. Then 2q to the 2nd times negative 2 is going to be negative 4q to the 2nd. Okay, now we subtract. These are going to cancel each other out. Negative 3q to the 3rd minus 0q to the 3rd is just going to be negative 3q to the 3rd. And then 0q to the 2nd minus negative 4q to the 2nd is plus positive 4q to the 2nd, so it's plus 4q to the 2nd. We then drop down our 6q and repeat the process. Negative 3q to the 3rd. We divide that by q to the 2nd and you get negative 3q. So we put that here. We then distribute that to each term. So negative 3q times q to the 2nd is negative 3q to the 3rd. Negative 3q times 0q is going to be 0q to the 2nd. And then negative 3q times negative 2 is positive 6q. So we then subtract these. The first terms cancel out. That's why we did that. 4q to the 2nd minus 0q to the 2nd. That's just 4q to the 2nd. And then the 6q and the 6q also cancel each other out. So we just get plus 0q. We then drop down this negative 8 and repeat our process. 4q to the 2nd. Divide that by q to the 2nd. You just get 4 because the q to the 2nds cancel out. So we put that here. We then distribute that 4 to each term. 4 times q to the 2nd is 4q to the 2nd. 4 times 0q is going to be 0q. And then 4 times negative 2 is going to be negative 8. We then subtract. The 4q to the 2nd and the 4q to the 2nd, when we subtract those, cancel each other out. The 0q and the 0q cancel each other out. The negative 8 minus negative 8, those also cancel cancel each other out, giving us a remainder of 0. So that means our quotient that we got is our answer because there is no remainder. We don't have to tack anything on the end. And you're done.